How's everybody today? How many of you have heard about shed hunting? How many shed hunters do we have here? Anybody right now hunting sheds with a dog? All right. We got one guy here out of this whole group, so I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what is this all about? Well, we're going to go through today not only what shed hunting is all about, for those of you who haven't done it before, but we're going to show you how to take your existing pheasant dog or hunting dog and turn them into a shed hunter. Now, a lot of people, I'm going to get this out of the way right off the bat, because this is the #1 question I get, and I want to point out, I'm going to answer questions at the end of my seminar, so keep them in mind, and I'll answer them at the end. The #1 question I get from people going, all right, I'm going to train my pheasant dog to hunt sheds. Is this going to mess him up for pheasant hunting? And the answer is absolutely not. And the reason being is the shed antler in itself just can't compete with that live, warm, breathing, flying bird. So one thing you want to keep in mind is it's not going to have any effect on your pheasant hunting whatsoever. How many of you, today I've got a Labrador Retriever with me. Let's get a little idea here. How many of you have a retrieving breed? It doesn't have to be a retriever breed. Okay, lots of you. Pointing breeds? Lots. Spaniels? Okay. You know what? This doesn't even have to be a sporting breed game. Any dog that has an instinct and a desire to retrieve something, you can do this with, and that's the neat part of it. We're going to be going through techniques, how to start a puppy, how to teach your dog to actually go out and start looking. We're going to talk about equipment that you're going to need to get your dog doing it. And then we're going to talk about a little bit of tactical, where to look for them, where to find them. As a matter of fact, right now, we're getting ready. I'm doing a lot of training right now, getting ready for our shed hunting season. I'm from Minnesota. Probably about 2-3 weeks down the line here now, we'll really be getting after it in earnest. Now, I'm an avid bird hunter, obviously, because that's what I do, but I also love to bow hunt. So I've kind of always had that interest in shed hunting, and I did it on my own before I started training dogs to do it. I'm not the first one to teach a dog to do it, but I got to tell you what, once I started training my own dogs to do it, there's nothing like it. If you've been out shed hunting before, and you know the excitement of when you find one by yourself out there, kind of like Easter egg hunting for big guys and big gals. But when you experience the first time you're out in the woods, and all of a sudden you're walking along, the dog's out there somewhere, he's doing his thing, and they show up with that first shed antler, I got to tell you what, you feel like a little kid again. You really do, because it's something that's so unique. And the neat part about it, it's one more thing that you can do with your dog. It's in the spring, and you don't have any other hunting seasons that you have to conflict with. Now, I want you to think about this. We're actually asking our dogs to go out and obviously search for that shed antler. I want you to think about this when you begin. How many of you have, if you've got a hunting dog, have a training dummy that you throw? A canvas dummy, rubber dummy, whatever it might be, right? So you throw the dummy and that's what your dog's retrieving object is at home. I just want you to think about this. This is a training dummy, all right? We're not going to get so technical that you go, geez, I just can't understand how you do this. This is your training dummy. And what I'll do, I'll take a small one. This is just a little bit bigger, but with a puppy or a beginner dog, I'll take one of those small antlers. And we're going to play retrieve just like you would when you first start off retrieving with your dog. Whether you rolled up the sock and threw it down the hallway or took your little canvas dummy and tossed it, you're just going to make a game out of picking it up. And this is how we get things started. Rookie? He likes this because he gets to act like a puppy. But, what is that, huh? Okay, hop, 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 hop. Good boy. Come on, Rookie. Come on. Good boy. Oh, yeah. You see, he wants that, right? Just like your dog would want the dummy. Now, some people go, I throw that out to begin with my hunting dog, especially if you have a dog that's already doing it. He kind of looks at it and goes, It's not my canvas dummy, it's not my rubber dummy, it's not what I'm used to. As a matter of fact, it's a little bit hard. I'll give you a little tip. Now, I don't consider myself a treat trainer by trade, but you take that little older dog, and he brings this back the first couple of times, you know, you kind of get him to bring it back, and give him a little something special when he comes back. All of a sudden he starts looking at that thing going, you know what, that ain't all that bad. All right, that guy never gave me anything for coming back with that dummy, but I'm kind of getting a little something special here when I find this. So if you have a dog that's a little lukewarm about it, you start adding a little treat reward, and you're not going to do this the rest of the dog's life, but all of a sudden they look at this and they go, T-bone steak. All right, so it's one way to get a little jump start if your dog's a little unsure of what to do as far as picking it up. Now, there's different things that you're going to have to go through. I don't want you to think that every dog will be a shed hunter if you haven't done some other training. So your basic obedience is going to be important. You need a dog that comes, does your basic commands. But once we have them picking this up, now we got to start actually working on the process of hunting. Now, if you've got an upland dog already that you're hunting birds with, your dog kind of knows to go out and start looking right away. I mean, you say hunt them up, or whatever your command is to look for birds, and they're going to start catching on. Anybody here have a dog that lives in the house? Yeah, I'd say 95% of the hunting dogs we train now are house dogs. And the neat part about this is you can start playing your little hunting games in the house if you want. All right, you know, the dog's probably knocked over 50% of what you have in there to begin with. But what we'll do is I'll take that antler, and if I'm starting with a dog, maybe one that hasn't hunted, I need to give that dog a word that associates strictly with this. It's his word that identifies this over his dummy, over his birds. Now I use, my word is bone, find the bone. All right, you may want to find the antler, whatever it is, but I want you to pick a word that doesn't sound anything like what you're doing when you're going to bird hunt, especially if you are a bird hunter. Now, if you're not a bird hunter and you're never going to bird hunt, we get people that just want a dog that shed hunts. It maybe doesn't make any difference, but don't get your dog confused with find the bird, and it's this, right? So find that word that works, and you want to now start tacking that on every time that you throw that antler for him, or as we start hiding the antler. Use that one word, and I want you to repeat it because I want you to ingrain that in the dog's mind that this is something different than what he's normally doing. So that being said, now you can do this in the house if your dog is in the house, and we're going to eventually take this outside. But I'll take and I'll put this maybe in the next room, and then I'll start that word. I'll start to find the bone, find that bone, and I'm going to get excited about it, and I want to make it extremely easy to begin with. Now I'm telling people this for the ones that don't have this hunting dog that already covers 10 miles and knows how to do it. I'll put it in the next room, or if you're outside, you're going to make it relatively easy. He finds it, lots of praise. Give him something special when he comes back with it. Maybe you do the treat. If your dog really loves to retrieve, lots of praise. Let him know that this is a big deal when he comes back in. Now, when we get to the stage where the dog starts understanding that this antler is the game, this is what we're doing. We've got to get him actually going out looking, not only looking for the antler, but smelling for the antler. And I want to tell you what the dog is actually smelling when you go out and look. If you've already shed hunted, you know that you're going to find X amount of them because you're looking and all of a sudden you see that antler out there. So we want the dogs, and the advantage that they're going to give us, they're going to give us the ability to use their nose, which we can't do. All right? There's places that you're going to hunt and look for antlers once your dog is taught to do this that you normally wouldn't go because you're not going to see them. Let's talk about where the scent is. Most people think the scent is the antler itself. There really isn't much of anything on that antler. When this falls off the deer's head, you're going to see, and you find a fresh one, there's going to be like a ring right around here, kind of a waxy substance. That's where the majority of the smell is going to come off of that. Now that's not a lot, right? Think about a bird. You have a bird, you have that whole surface area of that bird that's letting off that smell. And guess what? That bird, when that dog's hunting it, it's warm, right? So it's radiating that smell. This is a cold object. Majority of that scent is right there. So keep that in mind. Now what we're going to do, we want to imprint that smell on the antler as well. We want the dog identifying that as we go. So what we're going to do, we're going to take, and I'm going to put some scent. No different than if you went and had your canvas dummy or whatever and put some of your pheasant scent or something on that. I'm going to take my scent. This is a waxy, that's kind of a waxy compound that kind of simulates that same smell that they're going to have. And I'm not going to just put it here. Like I said, that's where it's at when I begin. I'm going to just drown this thing in that scent. It is a wax, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub that all over the antler because I want that thing to just radiate smell all over it. A lot of scent. So now every time your dog picks this up, he's getting that smell that he's going to get used to. You with me so far? It's a lot like just doing your dummies and your training. So you're imprinting the smell that you want him to look for. So you're going to want to have that. This is really not going to be that much different than if you're doing training scent put on your dummies. As a bird dog trainer, I would use training scents on my dummies, or I'm going to use live birds. All right? So it's going to be exactly the same there. So for those of you who have a dog that maybe hasn't hunted birds and doesn't understand the X's and O's of going out and starting to search, you want to get them moving along as fast as you can to actually start working away from you. All right, go out, start looking and searching. But remember, we not only want them to use their nose, but we want them to use their eyes. Okay? Now, if you're an upland bird hunter, your dog probably doesn't use his eyes as much, right? Those birds are pretty well hidden, so he's not going to see 99% of those birds. He's going to use his nose. But if you've shed hunted, you found X amount of sheds because you're seeing them, right? You're seeing that little contrast, that little bright spot there, especially if you're in the woods. It's going to contrast those tips of those tines. So I want the dog to associate that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to exaggerate that because we want the dog eyes and nose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off and I'm working that dog on hunting. I'm going to take, and this is just a silhouette. All this is a visual reference for your dog. And this is where I'm going to go out in the backyard and I'm going to take and I'm going to put one of these out really big, way bigger than what it is, but it's a real contrast in the backyard. I'll take this and I'm going to take one of my antlers, and this is going to be easy. I'm not going to go hide this. Middle of the backyard, and I'm going to put my shed antler right in front of it. Okay? All right. You take the dog out in the backyard, find the bone. It's right there. I mean, it's 15 yards away. He looks over there and goes, oh, what's that? Goes over there, there's his antler, and you make a big deal out of it. So what you're doing is now you're imprinting this image on the dog as well. All right? So when he sees this, the reward's there. Now, if I put this out in the backyard and I put $100 next to it every day for a week, all right, you'd look at that and go, oh, I'll be right back. I got to go check that thing out. So what I would be doing is I'm imprinting you to that because you know there's something special there, and you do the same with their dog. So what we're getting two things. We're getting the dog visually looking at this point for that shape and size, and that's big. I mean, we're overdoing it with the size and also the rewards there. But more importantly, we get another benefit. We get the dog moving away from us, right? We're having something visually pull him away, which means he's going to start going out and hunting. Once the dog starts recognizing an object like this and knows there's something there, now I can actually start working on not only having him go to one spot and start to look. I'll set up a pattern and I'll go to like the local baseball field, maybe football field, soccer field, wide open, right? Not a lot of high grass. And what I'll do is I'll take I'll take my biggest one first, and I'll set it out there probably about 35, 40 yards ahead of time. Now I've got the dog back in the truck, set it there, and I've got an antler by it over here. I'll do a 45-degree angle, and about another 30, 40 yards up, I put my second one. Okay? 45 yards up, I'm going to do my third one. See how they progressively now they're getting smaller, right? So you're making it super easy, a little tougher and a little tougher. But what's going to happen, the dog's going to run, get the first one, and while he's running over there, he's coming back with that retrieve. Now you're angling up towards the next one, and he's kind of, all of a sudden he sees it. Remember the $100 bill factor? Sees that, runs up. All right, picks that one up, he's got that one. You're automatically, as he's running to that one, you're starting to move in the direction of the last one, and you picked all three of them up. So you've got your dog working visual, and now he's starting to work away from you. Okay, so that's kind of day one. And I'll probably do that drill. I'll come back to that same field 2-3 days in a row. Okay, got everything placed out there, everything's in good shape. By that fourth day, if you see your dog is really keyed on that and he understands what's going on, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate my silhouettes, but I'm in the exact same spot. I'm going to put my antlers out, okay? Remember now that it's still short grass, and there will be some visibility to him when he goes. But now we're dealing with the dog's memory. He goes, okay, yesterday there was one there, I don't see that antler, but I'm going to go check. Finds it. Moves up to the next one, finds it. You see where I'm at here? I've got the dog now working away on his own. And what I'm cueing him on this, remember you're going to cue him after he finds each one of them, and you're going to the next. Find the bone. Out he goes, and he's picking up the next one. So what I call this is I call this my pattern drill. I'm just getting the dog to go out and start recognizing this. I didn't go 2 miles, okay? 40 yards, 40 yards, 40 yards. So what we're doing is we're getting the dog work away, work away, work away. Now one other thing that I'll do, I kind of like this drill also, is I work the field this way, and if you want to go and then work the field back the other way, you know what I mean, you're back here, you could start working this same pattern from the opposite direction, and I'd start back over with my silhouettes and work it back the other way. Okay? All pretty visual. You're going to have a lot of success with this because it's really easy and you've got the dog working away from it. That's drill one. After you've got about a week into this, your dog is naturally just going out in this football field or soccer field, and he's working and he's finding these antlers. But that's a setup, and that's just to build confidence. That's all this is about. Now what we want to do is we want to start taking this same drill, and we want the dog to start using a little bit more of the nose, okay? In areas where you're going to need it. What I'll do is I'll find myself a spot where I have grass about this high. All right, so now everything's not going to be visual, and what I'll do is I'll take and I'll do my same silhouette scenario in this field, but that silhouette's just above the grass. All right, you go, okay, I got it. Right up there, right over there, right over there. But what happens is the antler that I'm going to put by it is invisible when he gets there. And I might just move it up 5-6 feet or 5 feet from this side. All of a sudden he gets in there, and now he uses his nose to find where it's at. So I've got him visually moving away, but now he's got to tune his nose in to pick it up. Okay? Once again, we're using visual to get him there. And then now what does he have to do? Now he's got to use that nose to finish the job. I do that same sequence, get the dog working away, away, away. All right, you with me? Then I pull the silhouettes out after a few days if the dog is showing good signs of remembering where things are at, visually doing it, and I put my antlers out there. Very important now that when you start pulling the silhouettes out, that you put those antlers in the same relative spot each time, because you don't want your dog to fail. Well, how do you do that? You go, geez, let's see, where did I put that thing yesterday? I don't understand. surveyor tape. Get some surveyor tape. And I know you go, no, I've got a really good memory what I'm doing, and you're not. And the more things you put out, you go, geez, was that there, or where was it? Take a little surveyor tape, break off a piece and just tie it right on a little bit of the brush where you're putting things so you can actually put things back. Later on, when we start going out and just hiding a lot of antlers, you have to have this, because you go out and start hiding a half a dozen. I know, I speak from experience, and you go, geez, was that one there, or was it up there? And all of a sudden, you've lost all your antlers because you can't even get the dog in the same area. So you're going to want some surveyor tape when you get to that stage. At this stage now, we got our dog working away, then we pull the silhouettes out of there, and now they're going out and searching on their own, okay? They're actually finding these antlers. This is no different, bird hunters, no different than if you're hunting birds. And if you're using the dog's nose, you have to have the dog working into the wind or downwind of your antlers, okay? I don't know how many times I've seen it. I know you've seen it if you're a bird hunter. That dog can be this far away from a bird, and if he's on, we call it the upwind side, he's going right past it. He's not going to find it. So you have to be conscious when you're doing this that you are kind of bird hunting. And if you're working into a spot where you're looking for shed antlers, you have to be thinking about getting that dog to use his nose and work into the wind. One other thing I want you to keep in mind, you know, you're going to find X amount of these antlers, right? You're going to see them. Okay, there's one right up there. I can't believe that the dog doesn't see that. All right? You're standing on the Empire State Building, right? He's on ground level. For you to understand, if you go on, you're criticizing the dog because he's not seeing what you're seeing sometimes, get down where he's at and look. His world is totally different down here than it is up here. All right. I want to recap what we've got. We've got the dog going out, starting to look, starting to find some of the sheds on his own. He's starting to work. The drill, I want one more set of drills for you, and I want the drill, I call this,
we have a missing child.
I call this my crosswind pattern drill. And what I'll do, let's say we're in this room and the wind's blowing this way today, right? The wind's blowing like this. Over here, I'm going to put antler, go up 50 yards antler, 50 yards up antler. And I'm going to come over here, all right? And I'm going to do another string straight out, 50 yards spread apart. Okay, so I got two different lines of antlers. Wind's coming this way. All right, here we go. I'm going to go right down the line here. I'm going to keep him downwind of these antlers. He finds one, comes in, finds the next one. You work your way up. Now you have to go around the other side, right? And start working downwind of your third set. Okay? And this is really gonna educate you on how important it is to get that dog in that downwind spot. Super important. And if you're not, and these aren't visible, you're just not gonna come up with them. And once again, remember how much scent is on these, all right? Normally when you're doing the real thing, it's right here. But your antlers, I talked six antlers, didn't I? So you're gonna have to get some antlers. You can't just go, I got one antler. You're going to have some. See that little string on there? How many of you got training dummies, right? How many people have more than one training dummy? Okay, when you're doing this, you got to have a bunch. You know, 6 is at least a minimum. And believe me, you don't want to walk out there trying to carry them like this. This is just like having a string on your training dummy, okay? So you're going to need some of these. But remember, we scented these up really good, and the dog's really using his nose. I mean, there's a lot of scent on this. What other scent is on here too? Your hand scent, all of his saliva, right? I mean, this thing has got so much scent on it, you can't believe it. And that isn't even close. It's not even close to being the real deal when he goes out and shed hunts. It's just a minute amount of scent that's going to be on the real thing. So When we get our dogs to the stage where they're really going out and working and you're going, man, he's pretty good. He's really got this down. I'm going to say, okay, hold the phone here a little bit. All right. You know, there's way more scent on here than you can imagine. And you know what else is happening? All of a sudden you see, boy, you know, he's not hunting much, but he puts his nose to the ground and off he goes and he finds the next one. What's he doing? He's trailing you to every one of these that you put out. All right? And he's gonna take your footprints and go out and find everyone. So in a sense, it's cheating a little bit on his part, but he is using his nose.